Alright, so hello everybody. So with the rerun of Frame Mom's Girl, there's currently 6 collab characters in rotation. And I think this is a good time to make a video on, if any of them are worth it, because again, these are the true time limited characters, because we don't know when they will rerun. Maybe soon, maybe maybe it might not happen for a year. We don't know, right? We don't know. It is not like a regular character in regular banner where they will eventually comes in to the rerun banners and such, right? So I think it's good time to make this just in case if anyone wants to know if they are good, or if they're worth it to get, because you don't know when you might be able to get them again. So yeah. And this video will be primarily focused on, their abilities in 1v1, and I have to say this all the time. The characters in this game are balanced around 2v2s. If you want to know how worth they are in 2v2s, it's probably better to ask someone in any of the discords, based on your region, ask them if they're worth it in 2v2s, or just go on their Twitter account, copy their Japanese names, and then, search the video of the character on in Japanese on YouTube to see if they're worth it in 2v2, to see or just go on the app to see if they have a higher use rate in in top PvPs, right? So that's what you need to do if you want to know in 2v2. Now I will get into their 2v2 usage as well based on my knowledge of them from what I've seen, because again, I don't play too much 2v2 that much, but I do have experience playing 2v2 back then, and of course back in EXVS which is when I mostly play 2v2s. So this is definitely something to keep in mind. I'll be talking about it, but if you want like a more in-depth 2v2 experience, or like how good they are in 2v2s, that's you should again do what I said earlier, right? And you should play 2v2s to understand the game first, especially a new player. If you're a new player, you should play 2v2 to understand it first before you watch this video, or before you even get into 1v1s. Because again, there's so much more, how do you say, game, like there's so much more, because in 1v1 in 1v1 is something else entirely compared to 2v2s, because in 2v2s there's more, I guess, game stuff that you need to learn, like besides from knowing what you need to know for 1v1. So learn the game 1v1 first, or at least get to an intermediate level first, and if after this you still want to try 1v1s and you still like, or you still like 1v1 after you're trying it, then this video is for you. Otherwise, if you're a new player, play 2v2 first, or learn about them in 2v2 first, and then after after you get like 100 matches in, 500 matches in, or something like that, then if you still like 1v1s, then come back and this video will be for you on on what might be good in what's called in 1v1s. And of course, I'll also be going over Black Rock Shooter. Even though her banner and Deadmaster's banner are not here anymore, I'll be going over them as well, because they are limited characters, and when they do come back, I can also you guys can go back to this video on see if they are worth it or not. But this is another thing where patches can change things, right? Patches, buff, nerfs can change things. So this is at the current time of me making this video on what I think. Again, this video is in my opinion and based on my experience playing them, playing as them, playing against them. So this is my opinion, right? It's my opinion. So yeah, I guess let's get started. So first of all, Goraikai. Now, is Goraikai worth it? I think yes. Goraikai, she, even 2v2s, right? Even 2v2s, I think, in both 1v1 and 2v2s, I think she is probably the most new player friendly character in the game, right? She have reloadable mains, which against a player with good fundamentals might not be something that is too big of an issue. But if you're against I guess newer players, or player who's not that good in fundamentals, or just AI, right? If you want to just farm AI in AI matches, then a reloadable guns can you can watch something while you just spam AI, will just spam your main shot, and the AI will just die. And here's free farm if you don't want to, like 5-player that day or something, right? So even just this alone, she's already a very good, I mean, I want to say good, but like she's already a good way to do that if you want to do that, right? So this is one thing that I think like she is worth, because again, you can just AFK, but I mean there are other characters that can do that as well. So another thing is she have good self-defense tool, because just having reloadable guns and just having just decent, I guess, neutral tools, is not enough to, you know, to be good in 1v1s. But she have this, I mean, it's sort of a, I mean, it is a landing, right? It is a landing that can counterattack. Now, while it is not unpunishable, like, in fact, it might be very easy to punish. In fact, it might be very easy to punish for players who knows how to, you know, punish it. But it is better than just, you know, running out of boots and just, you know, just landing, right? Right? It's better than this, right? It's better than just running out of boots and just land, right? So this is always something that can throw out. So pretty much most of your landings will be counterattacking your opponents while you land, right? So I think that's very good. Now, you do have to get to, I think, a certain tier to be able to use this when you're out of boost, which I think is pretty important if you want to have like a slightly better, I mean, probably not even slightly better, like a better landing overall. And having a better landing in 1v1 I think is especially important because again your opponents are always locked onto you. Your landing had to be even better than in 2v2 because again there's no one to cover you, so having a landing as good as possible is probably even more important. Now it's also important in 2v2 of course, but again, you know, she can also do that in 2v2s, you know, just having a above average landing than than anyone else. Another thing that she can do while using this landing is she can do this. Now this, if you time it well, you know, once you play a little bit, especially if you're against a melee character, now this thing can potentially be a very good anti-melee tool. If you can time it well, right? If you can time it out, because once you do this and your opponent try to melee you, not only do they have to dodge the range attacks, which they can pretty easily, you can anytime you can do this. Well, anytime you can do that to back up, either back up or press melee during the first flips, and you can go for a super armor grapple. And you know this can potentially cause a lot of, especially if the other melee characters don't have super armor or something. I mean, even if it does, right? Usually when you use it, the enemy's super armor, like the enemy is probably going towards you with the super armor, either to tank the bullets or just, you know, using it or just using it to advance. So most of the time this can beat most of the melee, most of the melee attack coming your way. So it's a very good self-defense tool, and she have 2 charge of it, right? So this move she can potentially, or it potentially counter melee, which again it is very good, which is a good self-defense tool, and of course being a good landing overall. But again, both of these, because what I was gonna say that is both of these is readable, you know, right? If you're fighting against a player who knows these, they know they can, they know you can throw out that grab anytime. They know you can do the backflip anytime, right? So they can still find the good time to punish you, especially 1v1s. But again, it's just a lot better than just landing randomly, right? So yeah. So I think all these combined, I think she's definitely above average in 1v1s, just because again, against I don't want to say bad, but again, against players whose fundamentals is not there yet, you can just dominate using just main shot, like it'll be so easy. And even if you're against a good player, you can mix up your landing a little bit, just by doing this. Of course, the timing and such, you will learn more as you play the character and such. So yeah. So overall, I think she is definitely worth it. Overall, and of course, I think all these what I said before in terms of like the performance also applies in 2v2 as well. So you can definitely everything I talk about here could apply in 2v2, if not more so, if not more so in 2v2s because of her kit. So that's why I think she is probably one of the most free-to-play friendly character in the game. But I think she do want at least like T2 or something in order to like, do all these that I talked about before, right? So, and she also have this movement where she can use when out of boots, which is also nice. And I think you even cancel this into let's say you do this, and you can even cancel it into this, so you can really stay in the air for a long time, if you don't want to land, to mix up your landing basically, if you were to have these, right? So yeah, all these combined, I think she's definitely worth in 1v1s, if not in 2v2s or in any mode as well. So yeah, and it's definitely a character that I highly recommend getting, but you probably want to get her to at least the talent where she's able to use it at no boots. But I think T2 also important because you get another charge of it, which again is extremely important. So I think T2 is minimum for her. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's that steep. I mean, well, I think it can be because a collab character cannot be used. You can't use a gold essence on it, but just keep in mind before you start rolling this character, right? So, and then the next character I want to talk about is Starlet. Now, Starlet, I think she is definitely up there, if not like probably not S tier status, but definitely one of the best one characters, at least in top A tier or something like that. Because all the things that she can do, or just the few things she can do already, right? So, but oh well, there's a downside. She needs a lot of T. She needs a lot of talents, or not like not like skills, but she needs a lot of dues. I think she needs like T. One of them, like whichever one that like you need a one where it cut tracking when you do this. And you also preferably you want to have one where that explodes. You want that. So I don't know what T is. I think at least T4, but just keep that in mind, right? Keep that in mind before you roll this character, even though she is good in 1v1s. So I want to talk about her main thing, right? Her main thing, of course, she's being extremely fast despite being despite being a tube cost, which again, having lower cost meaning you have more where you have more HP, meaning you can make more mistake in 1v1s. So that's already a plus. She is faster than I mean I don't know her exact speed, but again into cost she's pretty fast. Combined with her skills like these skills, she can fly better than most of the like even most of the 3 costs, or in terms of like time in the air, right? So yeah. So what's so good about her is she can disengage anytime, right? She can disengage. Let's say you're fighting against a melee unit, or if you're fighting against a like a range, or like a range unit in close quarter combat or something like that. Like let's say if you're doing neutrals, at any time if you're losing, or even if you're winning, or even if you're just low on boots, right? You can just disengage. You just boop and then do that. Now, how to do this is just basically you go up and then you do the side one, and then you press the missile to fast fall, and while you fast fall you press your main, so it can be countering attack while you land. All of these combined together, it's first of all, this alone pretty much disengage you from combat, because pretty much disengage you from the interaction, like whatever interaction you're in, regardless what attack or like what situation you're in, you basically just disengage right away. And then you can do just whatever you want afterwards. You can fast fall, or you can even just stay in the air, like, right, or just counter. Well, don't do that. Like don't. Okay, one thing is when you're shooting her like machine gun characters. Now, machine gun character is definitely not like an easy character for a new player to use, because you want to position yourself to be facing. You don't want to get caught like doing this, because that's a lot of lag, and that's one of the mistakes that I see a lot of new player make. So, but anyway, this skill alone, it cut tracking, and then you can just do whatever later, is already pretty good. Already a extremely strong skill in 1v1. But if she only has these, then she is only good at running, which is which is not good enough for 1v1. So what other things she is good? Of course, one thing I talked before is the P-Shooter. Now this P-Shooter, if new players probably not gonna be used to P-Shooter, or at least use the machine guns at the the best levels. But in 1v1s, right? This machine gun are extremely good. If let's say if you're playing neutral with your opponents, if you still have ammo left while your opponent's boost is gone, then they are gonna get punished. Like she don't need any fancy, she don't need to keep on boosting and shooting. She just need to just keep on shooting, and then just use her mobility to neutral while shooting the machine gun, forcing the opponents to keep on running. At the moment they run out of boost, if you still have your bullets left, those bullets will hit on the opponents, and if you're close, you can even do like a big damage combo onto the enemy. If not, you can just punish with the machine gun itself. So yeah, just offensively, like even neutral tool, just keep on shooting this enough, as long as you can keep yourself to not be in lag most of the time, and it's honestly enough. And another thing is, let's say if they do come close to you, right? And let's say somehow you use up, somehow you use up your flights, right? Which is pretty hard in normal combat, because her mobility alone is already makes it very hard to catch, as long as you're applying enough pressure, right? But she also has 4 melee that is extremely fast. That, well, not like extremely, but like fast enough where it can be unreactable to even most like melee, most melee units. Like something for some attacks, you might even be able to stun the opponents before their super armor or whatever protection comes out, which is pretty awesome. Let's say like it is a gamble. Let's say you get knocked down, right? You get knocked down and you immediately come up. And sometimes let's say if your opponents try to attack you or something like that, you can potentially beat them just by using just by beating the 4 melee or just by using the 4 melee. So it is a very good self-defense tool, and you can potentially, use it as like a even offensive tool. Let's say you knock them down, right, like this, and let's say they wake up. If they immediately attack, you can potentially challenge with this again to, basically stun them, or I guess hit them before they, before their attack animation even starts, right? Before the charge up even starts for their melee attack. So it's an extremely good, just close range combat ability, and you can just cancel it, right? And cancel it before last hit, and then you can go into a big melee combo, and that's just a 700 damage right there, right? But I wouldn't really go like that close with her. I mean, she can use this. Like, this is an extremely good tool. You can use it offensively, but personally, I still would just something you can use it as like a protection tool for me. That's what I would be using it to be safest, right? If you sense your opponent's fundamentals are not there yet, then I think you can definitely use this as an offensive tool to catch them off guard. So, but usually I still think, just playing neutral, just keep on bothering them with, with machine guns and try to avoid, them running behind you where you will get lag using this. You want to keep on moving, while you're, you want to keep on moving with your mobility while you're using the machine gun on them, so you can keep on applying pressure and then eventually punish the landing, which most likely, most of the time, they will be, they will land before, or they have to land before your guns runs out, right? So, and she also have this missile. Now, let's say if you get any lag, she can use a missile to fast fall, right? Like, she can use a missile to fast fall. Wait, hold on, right? Hold on. Am I doing it right? Okay, so you need to do missile and then shoot again. So you could use her to fast fall to cancel. Mine's like cancel lag, but like fast fall the lag a bit. But usually you want to use a missile with this again. As I demonstrated before, you want to use this, so you have better landing, right? Now this landing is extremely hard to catch because first of all, you disengage from the situation. So your opponents, you can do it at any time. Your opponents might be caught off guard, right? And then while you're landing, right? Let's say, hold on. Let's say you do this, and while you're landing, you're also counterattacking. So again, that's a very good. What's going on? Let me kill some real quick. There's something here. So, again, it's not something that a good opponent can punish. But most of the it is at least better than majority of the landings in the even safer landings in the game, right? Like for example, she'll be better than Gorai's landing, right? So like this, like that is, again, it's not unpunishable. It's definitely not unpunishable. Like, in fact, I punish it a lot after I use it a lot more. Like, even against players who might not be top players yet, but again, it is probably, in my opinion, one of the best save landings I can do. And if you want to be even more toxic, right? Like, let's say you're out of boot. Let's say you're using another character. Let's say you're using Darkstar, Gorai, or whatever, right? You're out of the landing moves, and you're also out of boost, and your opponents are just waiting to punish you, right? You can just switch to her and then do that. Yeah. So let's say you're out of boots, right? You're out of boots, and then you can switch to her and then just do a landing like that, and that's extremely, it's extremely unfair. Like, you could make a character that doesn't have safe landings to have a safe landing, which is really good. Yeah, I think I covered most of this. Yeah, aside from her being, oh yeah, another big thing is she can do all of these while being at 2 cost. So I just think she's extremely unfair for all these reasons in 1v1s, just because she can do all of this. The only reason why she is not like S tier is that against a good player, you might just time out. Like, you might just time out if you're against a good player, because they know all you really got is the is the P-Shooter, unless you want to go into, for melee, which is risky for you as well, right? So against a good player, she can run for sure. Like she can run, she can good landings, but there's not many attack that can really catch your opponents off guard. It's mainly just, I guess, trapping opponents, in in a race against the bullet count of the machine guns. Which again, good players can mix up the landings, can do this and that to stay in the stay moving and such as long as possible. So it might not work that much. But so I think this is the only reason why I don't put her as S tiers, because again, against a good player, she might just be like a character that, like a free landing. I mean, but even this alone is already pretty good. Like if you want to use her just as like a character that can switch to do a quick landing, it's already pretty useful. But yeah, I don't think she's S tier status yet. Come to some other character that I'll talk about later. Alright, so that should be it about Starlet. So I think she's definitely worth it, but the downside is, she needs a lot of T's. She needs a lot of talents, which I think she needs at least T4, right? Yeah, she needs at least T4, because you want to have your that dash up skill and such to be as low of a cooldown as possible, because again, that's her lifeline basically. So yeah, T4, which is a very, very tall order. Like, it's a very tall order. You're probably gonna be using every single of the packs in the shop if you didn't save up for like 400 or something. So keep that in mind before you roll this character. She's good, but she's expensive as well. So yeah. Right. Last of the Frame Monster collab is Baselar. Now, Baselar, I think she's definitely, in terms of 1v1, now, I think she's extremely good in 2v2s from what I've seen, right? I've seen her in the SAC tournaments. I've seen her, just in higher level plays, and she just looks really good overall, right? And she have a lot of boosts. She have a lot of boosts as well. But the thing is, in 1v1, the map is small, right? The map is small. If you don't have good enough self-defense tool, which I don't think she have, that aside from being able to shoot well, like even skill like this, right? Even skill like this, I don't think after your opponents get hit once in 1v1s, if they're like a fairly decent player, you might not be able to hit that ever again, right? And she only have this one of this, right? She only have one of this sort of, which you need to use this, both offensively uses to land, uses to do, this and that, right? Like you do have to, like, I guess you can't like save one for offensive use and save another one for, defensive use, right? Like, sure, she can do, like offensive attack, like she can do this and that, during it. I think you can use it to land. But let me try, right? I think it's just like this, and you can do that. Yeah, it's a fairly okay landing, I would say. But again, it's you only got one, right? Your opponents can really just find this timing, and then what is anything else gonna? What is that gonna do? What is this gonna do, right? What is any of these gonna do? Once you're out of this, right? Once you're out of this, and if the map is big, if the map is big, then it's fine. So you can run away. But 1v1 map are small. So even this, you might not have enough like room to like really maneuver that well in a 1v1 map, and you can be easily catched by a melee units. And again, as I said before in my 1v1 tier list, if a melee characters or if a ranged characters attack are fairly lenient, and if you don't have just infinite firepower, right, to just keep them boosting, which Gorai has with the reloadable gun and such. If you don't have something that is like, I guess, more disjointed, or I guess where you can get shot in different directions, you might not ever hit your opponents in 1v1s, depending on the unit that they're using. Even this one where you can potentially catch people off guard, it required this skill, or even this melee. All of these require this skill, which again your opponents can easily catch this moment of where you're out of this skill, and then just give you a bad time basically, especially if they're a melee unit. So I think all of these just doesn't make her that well in 1v1s, which I think the biggest problem is the map being way too small in 1v1s. If the map is big, then I think she definitely works, and a good baseline player, right? A good 2v2 baseline player can probably be scary in 1v1s in 1v1s as well. But I think just compared to other character, you know, that have better self-defense tool, that have better, that doesn't, or that might perform a bit better in like a smaller enclosure and such, I think, yeah, I think she's just been lacking in those department, right? So like she like I wish, like, if this has super armor or something, maybe that can be something that is, you know, like a melee defense tool or something, like a melee, yeah, the anti-melee tool, but I think they only have shooting guard as far as I know, right? So yeah. Yeah, I mean, but look, if you can play the character in 1v1 well, you know, let me know down in the comments or something. So, you know, maybe on the next video we'll talk about this, or I can clarify. But overall, from the time I'm using it, and from the honestly, I don't see this character that much. From like, I think I am the only few who ever tried this character out, at least in NA, from what I've seen, in 1v1s before. So. Yeah, and she's a 2.5, right? She's a 2.5, which is, you know, which can increase your HP. If you're gonna increase your HP in 1v1 already, why don't you just use, you know, some other character, even, you know, the Zinc, you know, the girl with the big cannon, right? Or even Ada, or whatever, Scorpion, whatever, right? Will be probably a better choice than using her. But she is pretty good in 2v2. Again, from what I've seen, she is pretty good in 2v2s. So, you know, if you're if you're two v two players, then I think she's definitely worth it overall. But if you're one player, then, you know, you might be better to use some other free to play characters. Might be a bit better choice, yeah, overall. So, but that's base art overall. Let's go into Thunderbolt Otome. Where's Thunderbolt Otome? Thunderbolt Otome. Thunderbolt Otome. Okay, so Thunderbolt Otome. She only have 14 days left. In the thing. So, you know, hopefully, like, for those interested, I definitely what's it called? I mean, you will see, because I think she is good in 1v1s, but it's definitely not like, it wouldn't be a top like a top pick. Like, she's usable for sure. She's definitely usable, but I think you know, they're probably character like that probably will have more competitive ability in 1v1 compared to her. So the biggest thing about her is this move. Wait, hold on. Not this move. Yeah, this move, this little spin, mainly because when she does that, she has tracking. So, and if you got a certain T, you can use it, you know, when you're out of boost. So in a neutral, I mean, I talk about before, in a neutral, you can just use this for like a fairly good landing, or just use it to dodge attack, because, you know, again, it cut trackings, and then you'll likely have a better landing this way, and you can also counterattack during it, which will be, you know, can potentially caught people off guard, especially, or, you know, if you want to use it offensively, right? Like, let's say if you are fighting against someone with the same cost as you in neutrals, and you both are about to run out of boots, and this can be something that is, you know, a deciding factor overall. And if not punish your opponents, you can at least, you know, lens safer than most likely lens safer than your opponents. And in my opinion, this skill is like sort of base large skill, but like more offensive, or can use it, you know, more offensively, considering the thing that they throw out as well. Like that is extremely fast punish as well. So yeah, so like extremely well. So in 1v1s, right, in a shootout match, then it's pretty hard for her to catch, or even your opponent won't come melee, right? If opponent won't come melee, like, you can still use this to dodge the melee tracking, or like, you know, the initial melee tracking. Of course, your opponents will probably be rainbow dashing, you know, towards you, or you know, throw out something. But again, whatever they do, right, this is just still very good defense tool, you know, even close. But ideally, you know, you don't want to get, you know, close, even though she does have, you know, I mean, this is melee guard. Is not exactly like, before melee is a melee guard. It's not like it can beat like a super armor or something, right? Or like a fast melee, but, you know, it is at least a sort of melee that has, you know, some, you know, some sort of protection that you can potentially use even offensively as a last resort, right? So yeah. Or or if your opponents are using like a range heavy character, like if you're interesting. I mean, most people probably wouldn't be using like a super range heavy character. Okay, let's say large beta, right? Large beta is sort of usable in 1v1s because the delay bazooka and such, like the things I talk about in the 1v1 tier list, can potentially like just go up to him and just like give pressure, using this move or something like that. I think you can potentially do that, for sure. So, but I wouldn't do that though. Like I wouldn't. That definitely wouldn't like just because again she can probably outshoot large beta as well, especially with her this we just had to watch out on her like the left right beams and such. So yeah, and anything else is pretty fairly basic, but it's all usable. Like the missile, keep them from keep them moving. A good snipe punish, a good punish for the landing, for whatever they do. Good enough range attack to to saw the game, or to to waste their boots. And of course again, being able to attack during this is extremely good. And let's say if you opponents want to punish your landings, right, and they know you have this, and you can technically just use it again, right? Let's say you do this and your opponent is about to punish you, you can just flip again right after this one. Now I wouldn't be using like I'll try to avoid having to use both, because after that you might be more vulnerable. But it is something that you can use to potentially not get punished and just switch characters, so you can start charging up these dodges again. So like do this and you can potentially do it again, or like not that slow, but you can potentially do it again, depending on what opponents are doing, right? So, and you can potentially even counterattack during that too. So yeah, right, like counterattack. You can even do that again to to see if you can punish them, and then switch out, and then that'd be weird. So overall, pretty good, but it's just not something that I think it's like style lit, but more offensive, or like more offensive in terms of like attacking, I guess. But like also fairly basic, I guess. Like, I don't know how to describe it. It's just there are better character, or it's not even better, but they're just character with mechanics or with gimmicks that can force more things, I should say, probably, right? Like can probably force more things. And I do think this is definitely less, like, although it might have more offensive abilities, it does have it isn't as like isn't to a point where it can just disengage from anything, right? Where it can run away from anything. So yeah, overall she's fine. And I think in 2v2s, I think she's also very decent. I mean, just just seeing her kit, I think she's definitely usable, more than usable in 2v2. I'm pretty sure. So yeah, I think she's worth it. I don't know what cost she needs. I think she needs cost where, again, you can use the little flip thing, the cut tracking things, when you're out of boots. I think that's the most important one, which I think is at least T3. Let me check. Yeah, T3. You want T3 because you want the dash thing to be usable when you're out of boots. You can control yourself to not run out of boots to use it, but just having the option to use it when you're out of boots can save you in a lot of situations, right? I mean, you can be a boost management god, but just being able to do it when you're out of boots are extremely, because sometimes it is literally the difference between life and death, right? In the match, where let's say you're both out of boots, and then if you could use this, you can definitely punish them, and also while dodging their attacks. Sometimes you can really come down to that. So T3 is definitely going to be needed, which it's not a small order. So yeah, just a heads up, right? Before you get this unit. So alright. Now let's talk about Galahad. 80 more days left. Galahad, I talked about before, she is S tier. She is definitely S tier in 1v1s because holy crap, she is great in any range. It doesn't matter what character she's fighting against. She can deal. I mean, probably not like deal with the best, for all situations, but she can, at least do something, right? Even if opponents are at Greenlock, she can potentially do something. Especially in a 1v1 map, right? Especially in a 1v1 map. So, and of course, she's being a 2 cost, being able to do all of this. That's another big plus as well. So, that's about her like melee, right? Let's say opponent want a melee, which is a terrible idea to trying to melee her. So you can spam this infinitely, right? This alone. You can spam super armor infinitely. But this is, look, a lot of characters can spam super armor, like probably not infinitely, but a lot of characters can or have spammable super armors, sort of. Probably not as good as hers, but the biggest thing about her is that the thing comes out after. Now she don't have super armor while she's going towards enemies using this dash, so you can be shot. But if the opponents are stupid enough to try to melee you, right? Let's say they melee you doing the super armor, that right? They melee you doing super armor. This next hit that comes out doesn't matter if your opponents are in super armor. Doesn't matter if they're in burst super armor, where you get super armor the entirely, let's in burst, your melee attack are entirely in super armor, right? Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The moment that thing touches the opponent, you can see it goes into red lock. It goes into yellow lock. So as long as you damage the opponent, right, and not be countered, like as long as you're not countered or whatever, or blocked, if this hits your opponents and does damage, it's over. Like or it's not even over. It's just doesn't matter what they're in. They can be in the super, like the god, they can be in god mode. Well, probably not god mode, but like they can be in super burst, super armor, whatever armor mode, or in super buff mode. It doesn't matter. You get touched, you're down. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It's gone. So yeah, it's pretty powerful. It can, I mean, of course, if you're fighting against players who is good enough, they wouldn't, they wouldn't be meleeing you, right? They wouldn't be meleeing you. But this also means they can't melee you without you being stunned first, right? I get like they couldn't melee you as is, right? Because again, you can do this anytime. They would need to stun you with a range shot or something, and then go melee you to be safer, which the overall damage will be lower because you have to stun them with something first and then attack them. So just this alone is already is already pretty good, or it's already like a guarantee that where you wouldn't lose against anyone who is trying to like rush you down. Which again, a good player wouldn't be trying to rushing Galahad down. They wouldn't even go in the danger zone of all the with all the Galahad's attacks and such, right? So yeah. And look, and even if they want to use range attacks to stun you first, you can use this to just dodge range attack. You can't just tank the range attack like this, and then you can tank it and do it again, and just keep on doing this, and you just keep on doing this until until you tank everything, and where they have to disengage in order to not get freaking poked. So yeah. Melee, so melee-wise, she can beat almost anything. Of course, you need to watch out for counters, which you would know you're fighting a character with counter, so you just don't do it. You just, you just leave. You just do this, and you can just use a range attack, or just wait out a counter. You can do this. You see them counter, just immediately cancel into another one, or into another melee, or whatever. Right? There's a lot of things you can do. Even if you're fighting against a character with counter or something like that. So that's this. Yeah, this move alone is already good in close range. Not to mention, her other, like this move that can be pretty deceivingly like some of the lower tracking attack wouldn't be able to do much, like, or wouldn't be able to hit this if they're using some lower tracking attacks, and it is a good mix up as well overall. And of course, if they are using a range attack, you can also use this to dodge it, and you can also throw that out for to send opponent. Now, I wouldn't rely on too much on this, for the range attack, because, or at least I wouldn't be relying on the throw. Oh, the throw is great. Don't get me wrong, the throw is great, but there is a small window between you throwing it and while you set up boots, and a lot of time, if opponents keep on shooting you, during those times, you can get hit during that. So I definitely suggest time this. You gotta time this well, unless you're using this at green lock. Now, this is the point where I think she's really S tier. Let's say your opponent knows about the scary things about about Denzel at close range, so they want to stay away from you, right? Stay you at green lock, but watch this. Now, this is deceivingly in 1v1 map as this is deceivingly like easy to hit, I guess. Like extremely easy to hit, because sometimes your opponent just is not like like expecting that thing to come their way this fast as well. Again, it's a small map. They see you are in they see you're in green lock zone, right? And most likely that they're playing like a zoner, so they do need to go a bit closer so they can shoot you, right? And if you can use this time to use this move while in green lock, you can potentially like just throw this at them while in green lock and make sure you're doing it on the side or even in the back, right? Like even if you're facing away from them, right? That is extremely deceiving, especially if they're trying to come towards you to try to shoot you. That have caught so many people in so many people that in 1v1 for me, and even against Orchid. Orchid can turn invisible. Orchid is a very good 1v1 unit, and when Orchid turn invisible and you use this throw will go towards Orchid, which is again even though you have no tracking, the fact that it goes towards them with this big of a hitbox, sometimes your opponents are just not expecting it. It comes out fairly fast and is fairly long as well, and it can really just catch people off guard, even if this doesn't have tracking, because they might think they're safe because again you are in green lock. Most likely the character they are using that they're trying to zone Galahad has a higher red lock than Galahad. So this is just, how do you say it is evil, I guess. It's absolutely evil. Like you usually couldn't expect it. Now, just having 1-2 alone in green lock is not good enough. But another thing that you can do is, of course, so the split. Now, it might not look like much, right? It might not look like, oh, that like this is gonna like that it will hit anyone. But in 1v1 maps, let's say your opponents land. Let's say your opponents, because your opponents had to land in some place, even if they're keeping you out of your red lock zone and keeping themselves in red lock zone, right? They have to land sometimes in order to cover boots or whatever, right? You can use the time where they have to stop even for a little bit to shoot out like a long range. Now you can control this to either spread close, to spread medium, or to spread far. Now, well, usually, at that distance, your opponents will probably go left or right? So this thing, the little spread like that, the side ones can potentially hit your opponents, or at least it forces your opponents to at least move out of the way, to move either jump up high or to just fly even farther away to not get hit by the beam blade. Because again, your opponents has to do something. Your opponents has to just move around and not just walk. It's too risky, right? Because you don't know if it's the middle one or if it is the long one as well. Because your opponents wouldn't know until it is too late, basically. So everything that they can do is definitely jump up, right? Like do jump up. But even then, if they jump too little, it can still hit them. But they should either fly up or just fly just like jump over a little bit just to be safe. And that is wasting their boost, giving you time to go in for like a for even better pressure. And you got 2, right? So you can use one at a range, and you can go close while they're dodging that move, and in red lock use a neutral one, or even use a close one if you can get, or if you can get close enough, right? So yeah, this is a meta character with perfect, like almost perfect close range combat counters against pretty much all the characters in the game. Pretty much all the meta characters in the game who doesn't, or I guess there are only a few moves that can really win this thing, right? I mean, aside from just shooting it and then punishing it, right? Which again, if you're good enough, that wouldn't happen. You would just cancel and go do something else, right? That's what a good guy would do. But there's only a few that can really win this move head on, which is like Krista's, like I guess Krista's like little, like the big sword stab, whatever thing, like whatever whatever the one hit down was, probably that one. But again, if you're a good Galahad, you wouldn't face like the only few moves that can win against your melee, right? You wouldn't do that. You just cancel and then do whatever, right? So yeah, at a range, she have option. Well, maybe not the best options, right? Maybe not, but at least having an option is already better than a lot of the helpless characters at green lock against a zoner. So at range, she can at least force your opponents to do something. At medium range, again, she can still do that, right? And she have, I mean, this is not exactly the greatest, but you know, this move can be pretty good at at doing that. And now I wouldn't use the side one that often, but you know, the fact that she can do it can potentially also catch people off guard, right? And of course, you know, as I said before, this move, even if you're not using it at a close range to trying to counter, you know, trying to dodge the projectiles and throw at them, you can still use it at green lock to potentially catch people off guard. So you can potentially do that, which is again really, she have a lot of options, right? She has a lot of options despite feeling simple, I guess. And of course, if we get her at T1, she even have a now. This landing is probably even more punishable than just landing as a thing, but well, I don't know. I think it's just a different kind of landing, right? You can just land normally, right? But let's say your opponents want to punish you, right? Let's say your opponent want to punish you as you go down, as you land. You could throw this out anytime, right? Out of boots, throw this out. You immediately get super armor, so you can probably tank against whatever whatever punishing attack, as long as the one not one hit down. It can potentially tank it, or even just have a miss as you go up, right? As you go up, and you can just land on the ground for like to get your HP back, right? So that's against range. Against melee, if they dare to be in this vicinity, they're cooked, because first of all, you have super armor, right? So at the beginning, you're fairly safe. Now again, there are units that can still do things to it. For example, Akigumo or something like that, right? They can lock you in place and then cancels your, and then or just just various attacks or various moves that can deal with it. But the fact that she has this option where she can just immediately get super armor and then goes up, that can potentially dodge something, and when she lands, she also creates a shockwave that ignores block, or that ignores frontal block. You need a shield that gives you full body protections in order to not be stunned by this. Otherwise, you will get knocked up for a free punish. So again, it's another tool besides just spamming your freaking besides just spamming this. Is another tool that can use to counter meta. They gonna have to leave you alone for a little bit, or at least try to punish you as you land, right? That punish you while you're on the ground like this, right? So yeah, it's just with everything I talk about before, she also have a landing like this, which again, punishable, very punishable, for players who knows this, but it is I will say it is a better landing than just going on the boots and be a sitting duck, right? So yeah, it's better than just landing regularly. You can just at least land like that. It'll probably be better than most of the time. So a character that you shouldn't be afraid of anyone in close range. There's no one you should be afraid of in close range, or at least not that much character that you should be afraid of. In long range, you have options. You have options. You have moves that can catch people off guard, even top players off guard. So yeah, overall I think she's something great in 1v1. In 2v2s, I don't know how good she is. I heard she's hard to catch people in 2v2 because again, the map is pretty big, and a lot of these are built upon the map being small. For example, like this, right? Like even this, that is built upon the map being small in order to hit that easy, right? To be a more of a surprise factor. Even this, right? Even this is also, because the map is small, they don't have that much place to go, right? Or like this, right? Because in a 2v2 map, they can just go back. They can just go away to dodge that, and then just fish you, basically. They can just, zone you out, basically. But in 1v1 maps, well, there's not many places they can go. You do this, they're gonna have to react, without just running away, right? So, yeah. But yeah. Alright, that should be it about Gunhead. I hope you guys know why I rank her as as top tier, like as S tiers, and she have all of these while being a 2 cost. I don't know who allows this. I mean, I guess the only thing, or I guess one reason is because she does give the opponents like a buff in attack when you give this buff, I guess. But honestly, with what she has, a 10% attack increase? I mean, sure, maybe you get one-shotted by a buffed Agigumo or something, right? I mean, they also do consumable boots, yes, but even if you get one, I mean, it does open up the fact that you can get one-shotted by that enemy's Akigumo. It's not impossible, right? If you were to be using attacks that does apply it, right? Which is like the ending move of some other skill, or this move. But I don't know. I think that those situations are not gonna be that much. Usually, if you land this, they're probably at a disadvantage already especially against Galahad, right? So, another thing, the dominator, right? Let's say if you are using a ranged character in 1v1, right? You're using ranged character, you auto boost the melee character, and the melee character is about to do big damage to you, right? They're waiting for you to land, so they can do a big damage to you. Let's using Dark Souls or something, right? You can switch to her, and you auto boost. Well, you're gonna do this, and your melee characters and the enemy's melee character have to go away. Otherwise, it's way too risky if they want to challenge it. They can, for sure can, but they need to know the distance. They also need to know if the character even have anything that can safely punish, this. So it might become like from like 1,000 damage combo into like, maybe like a 700 knockdown from a range attack, or even like a melee, or even like a melee attack into like a combo that wouldn't have to do as much damage. So yeah, or you can even just do this when you auto boost, right? You auto boost, right? You can just do that and just go Hail Mary on like as a last ditch effort or something like that. It's all these combined. She's just extremely awesome. So should be enough about Galahad. I just hope you guys know why I think she's S tiers in 1v1s. She's just, and another thing is she only needs T1. Yeah, she only needs T1. The other things, it doesn't matter that much, honestly. I mean, I guess this could be cool, but when you're out of boost, you just use down melee or something like that, right? Because T1 gives you the down melee that is like a the okay landing, like the anti melee landing, I guess. And I guess like sometimes you might not even want T4 in 1v1s because it extends the quote unquote buff, I guess, or like a buff and a nerf for the enemies, right? So yeah, just T1 is enough. Like otherwise, yeah, none of them are really necessary. Overall, T5 does give you more damage potential, but in 1v1s, yeah, you probably still gonna need 3 or 4 combos to finish your opponents, like a 2000 HP like 3 combos, yeah, 3 or 4 combos to finish off like a 2000 HP opponents wouldn't really matter that much. I mean, probably could, but I think yeah, just get T1. Just get T1. You already get pretty much everything that he offers, and you're good. So cheap, low cost, able to do all of these. S tier. Oh yeah. Okay, now let's talk about Galahad Dawn. Now Galahad Dawn is definitely, I think, definitely a lot better in 2v2s than in 1v1s. But I mean, she she didn't have I think she's also definitely above average, like more than above average, especially after her transformation. She's definitely above average in 1v1. But the thing is, I don't think a lot of people knows like what move, because a lot of people just go straight to use her, use her range attacks right away, which is not, or use her swords right away, which is not how you which is not how you do it. Hold on, let me see. So we can like, yeah, in this mode, right? In her like sort of weaker mode, like she has good amount of self defense tool that she can use. Like first of all, she can fast fall from the drones, right? So you can like, even if you lag, right? Even like you can immediately do that to fast fall. I think we do like the one what goes towards you, right? Hold on, let me see. I think it's the side one. Let me see. Yeah, there you go. So she have enough tools, I guess, to keep opponents moving, and she have like a fairly okay, like a fast fall, I guess. If you were to catch people, if you were to catch, I guess, catch a point where you accidentally did like a shot from behind or something, right? So you can like do a fast fall and such. That is definitely something that I can do. I don't think that's gonna hit much unless your opponent's like really gives the thing. But I mean, the fact that she has this, that can potentially use a combo or to punish opponents, that's also pretty good. But the biggest thing is when she transform, right? I get this is also fine, but again, I wouldn't go challenge like a melee, like, you know, well, depends. If you're fighting against a ranged character, then I mean, go ahead, you know. But if you're fighting against another Mecha, don't like just run until you get this. Yeah, just run until you get this. Because after you get this, you start getting, you know, you don't want to use you don't want to do that. You don't want to use this big sword. It's way too obvious. Any decent enough players gonna see that big sword and gonna dodge. You know, you have enough time to get out of the way or block. So this is not gonna do much for you at all. So what's his, you know, what's good is all her other skills that she can use. So let's get it back. Let's get back. Yeah, let's get this back again. You know, this flip. Yeah, Wing of Lights, like, you know, like Rota's Wing of Lights. This is always good because then you get a dodge. You know, doing this. So like imagine, you know, Thunderbolt's thing, but like a lot faster, and you can even attack, you know, out of it. Or I think you can also do attack out of, you know, out of. But it's just a good approaching tool, right? A very safe approaching tool that I can use to just, you know, closing distance and just scare the heck out of your opponents, basically, right? Or just baiting out. There isn't much, like, it's extremely hard for you to lose, you know, especially if you have Wing of Lights most of the time. And another thing is that is extremely fast. Look how fast it is. So if you're not in a range where you can just, you know, melee towards them, using the Wing of Lights, you can still use the very fast range comp or like the range beam in order to just stun them, and then you know, going for a big punish and such, right? So I mean, I don't know the best combo for her, but you know, whichever biggest combo that can do in a lab once you catch opponents, right? So and yeah, I wouldn't be using this. Look, the moment I get this, right, I'll just put up the shield and then I'm going in. I mean, of course, depending on the situation, you still need to use range attacks, but most of the time, you're not gonna lose. You're not gonna lose. You're like, okay, you do this, you have this up, and you have this up. Yeah, you're not. You most of the time you're not gonna lose as long as you don't just run into your opponent's counter or whatever, right? You're not gonna be losing most of the time, right? So, yeah. So, yeah, I don't know what to say. It just, it's like. Well, I guess like the range attack is more of like a bonus, right? Like let's say after you transform, unless your opponents are doing their best to absolutely trying to outzone you, like trying to escape this thing coming your way to do big damage, right? Then if they run enough and you couldn't catch them, then range attack is like some bonus that can do to, like, you know, to potentially do something. Or maybe you can use the sword if they let's say if you use everything you got and they still escaped. But they, you know, again, they had to land somehow, right? Then you can use the big sword to, you know, to bash him in the face, basically. So, I guess those are the times where you will be using the big sword. Otherwise, unless you know your opponent doesn't have, I guess, as big of a reaction, it's not gonna hit. Even if it feels like a range, because again, they can still block. They can still block anytime they want, right? If not counter, like opponents can probably see this a mile away and counter this so hard, especially the side one, and I mean the top one as well, honestly. So yeah, it's just, you know, try to stay alive. You have enough tool to stay alive. You know, in this mode, fairly enough. You know, fairly enough things. And once you got this range shield, and then go in, and just start blasting opponents. You know, preferably stunning them first. Especially after the Wing Lights, stun them, and going with a big melee, and then, you know, just whatever the highest damage or whatever combo you like to go with, right? Because again, it's 1v1, so you don't need to worry about your the teammate cutting them. So yeah, and the biggest mistake I see people really do is definitely, you know, just using this sword just out of the bat. It's never gonna hit anyone, or even using this. Because look, you don't even need this. You don't even need this. Just go this and just go in. Just go in, like your, like, I mean, I guess there are units that can do, like, for example, if you're fighting a Galahad, right? A Galahad Dawn, or no, a Dark Galahad, then sure, the Dark Galahad can do, you know, can have self-defense tool, but so does any other unit. But like, if you're against a character that is not a good melee character, I guess, then you can just you know, then you can just even if they're a good range character, you can probably still go in, because again, you wouldn't be going in. And well, you can go in attack if the opponents don't have like a anti-melee or something like that. But even if they do, we can just do this and then and then go in, and then and stuff happens basically. So, and I guess if the counter can like main counter can also use this and then go in for attack as well. So, yeah. So I think she's definitely above average, but I don't think she's top tier because again, it's the duration is fairly small. Like the window is very small. The opponent it's fairly the duration is fairly small, and I don't think you will not be able to catch your opponents as long as you play it right, or as long as you're doing it to the right unit, like you're charging the right units. I don't think you will be I don't think you'll have a problem. But what's it called I just think I guess the fact that I guess it's time limited. I just feel I don't know. It just yeah. I mean, I guess you can change her back. No, I don't know if I don't know if she gets the gets to get the transformation, while with while in the back line. But if she can, they can switch her out. But overall, I just think, first of all, Dark Galahad, right? Dark Galahad can do all of the things that she does 24/7, right? Most of the time, right? I mean, she doesn't need to recharge ammo, but if you use it conservatively, you really wouldn't run out most of the time, or at least you wouldn't run out when you need them, right? For Galahad, I guess she gonna have to change playstyle, or I guess I just don't like it that much. It's just you have to play you have to change playstyle, depending on the situation. And your opponents, like when you transform, your opponents can just switch into like a character that can deal with like a close range, that can potentially deal with Galahad at a close range, right? So I just think it's just I guess the change of playstyle and the time limitedness is just I guess throws me off a little, or just turns me off a little bit, I guess. And of course, she being a 2.5, I mean, you probably want to use higher cost in 1v1s, mainly just to avoid being bootstrapped by whatever higher cost unit the enemy has. Like you definitely like I would not recommend using like all low cost, because you probably at least want at least one or two higher cost just to not get bootstrapped by your opponents. All right, because one 3k can potentially just like a good 3k, right? Even if a basic like Chirp can probably just bootstrap you until you die, like depending on the units basically. So I think that should be it about her. I think she only needs T1, so I think that's also a plus. And of course, I think she's also good in 2v2s. Now, I don't know how good she is now, but at least when she just came out, like around the time when she came out, she's definitely up there with the like in 2v2s. I don't know if she's still now, in this patch, but the fact that she can be used back then, I think I'm sure she can be used now even, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah. And I think honestly, I don't even know if she needs that much. Maybe, well, I guess T4 can be fine, like just when you block more bullets potentially, but I don't know, because the shield for me at least is mainly to block some stray bullet that can potentially hit you, because Wing of Light can already dodge majority attack as long as you time things well, right? I don't know. Probably, yeah. Honestly, T0 might be fine already to use most of the most of her things. I guess T1 might be more for 2v2s, because I think this attack is high damage and quick, which is pretty useful in 2v2s. I mean, high and quick combo is also good in 1v1s, because it give your opponents less time to decide if they should burst out of this combo, or it gives opponent less time to charge up their broken moves. So it's also fine, but but it works. She works at T0, I'm pretty sure. Based on just looking at this, I think for 1v1 at least, I think she's definitely workable in T1 or in T0. And if you can get T1, it's probably good. It's probably good as well. So yeah. Alright, so that should be it about the ones that I currently have in. Now let's talk about the what's it called, the one that has left us, or for now at least, because Frameworks collab, Frameworks girl have rerun, so who knows if these will rerun. Who knows if Battle Shooter will rerun as well, and of course Dam Master as well. Let's talk about Battle Shooter first. Now I admit I haven't played her that much in 1v1s, but from what I'm fighting against, I think she's definitely above average in 1v1s for sure. She have she have option, she can transform. If opponents are at range, you can still, I guess, neutral with them at range. And if opponents are not careful, right, they can get shot by pretty powerful shots. So that is a good thing. That she can, that she can play both range, and of course she can also turn into melee. And this move into the throw, yeah. So what's called, yeah. I don't even know to control that. I don't even know to control that well for her. But this move to the throw can also catch people off guard. Can also catch people off guard pretty well. And it's I think this one was nerfed a little bit into this patch, but it's still usable. I mean, it's still fast enough. I'm pretty sure as like a melee struggle tool, I guess. Most of the time. So I think she can fight in close range. She can fight in long range, and she even have like a good get up, what's called, like a get up trap, basically, like this thing, right? If opponents are too, I guess, trigger happy right as they wake up, those things can potentially hit them. So yeah, and and she have this that definitely used to land as well. So that's also pretty good. So I just think that, I guess, both the range, in both, I mean, she have options in both, range and in melee, right? She she can do this and that, but the thing is, I just don't think she's the best at like either of it. I mean, this is pretty hard, for if you time this route, if you are good enough, like your opponents might, even for good players, they might still get hit by it and then get punished by the melee. And of course with this one, you could just, I guess, pressure, like, you probably couldn't pressure them as good as, like, units with like a lot more projectiles. But if opponents are just a bit careless, on the landing, then they can potentially eat like a big punish. But again, I don't think they're great in, I don't think they're great in like, or I don't think she is great in either mode, on either thing. Like, they're always stronger, melee units. Or I guess, if you're fighting against in 1v1s, right, there's a high chance, if you're using a range unit, you can probably outshoot like a ranged mode, what's called, background shooter. If you want to go in, right, then they can just switch to like a melee unit, I guess. I mean, I guess you can also just go back and use a range, so you're more flexible, and which is a plus side about her. But I just don't feel like I ever really have like trouble against her in like either in both close range and in long range. I just think, like, because if I'm using a ranged character, most likely I have good enough melee defenses that can potentially even, I guess, beat her in terms of like her fairly limited attacks, I would say, or I guess fairly obvious attacks. I mean, because I don't want to like undersell this character, because again, being able to switch, depending on the situation, or just using both, depending on the situation, is extremely good. But I just think that if you want to go into like I never is really afraid of backrock shooter, because I know if they come close to me, I can use a melee character to, I guess, have an advantage. And if they want to, go away, by the time they're in their comfortable, like, if they want to escape, right? Let's say if I'm using a better melee characters, and she goes out of range and go back to range, I don't think she's able to hit me if I just run, because she don't have as many like of a, I guess, I don't know how to say it in English, but like amount of bullets to keep me moving in order to like do a punish on me, I guess. And I can just switch to a ranged character and then just outshoot her, potentially, again, I guess, at a range. And they could, come in with a melee unit, and again, if I'm using a ranged character, most likely I will have a self defense tool, and the self defense tool can potentially last me until, I can switch up my melee character skin or something like that. So, and even it's like, even in melee mode, technically she only got this, you need to worry about that more. That is like fairly unreactable, right? Aside from just going in for raw melee, which is never a good idea, honestly. especially she's just relying on the movements instead of like super armor, or instead of being something else, right? There's so many self defense tools that can just get rid of just raw melee like this, right? So, or even this thing, there's self defense tool that can potentially deal with that as well. And in range, yeah, it's like in a real match, yeah, I'm probably not gonna catch people that easily just by shooting. I mean, maybe you can catch people who don't have good fundamentals, and you can always catch their landings. Not possible, but yeah, I just don't think you have good enough tool to keep you moving, I guess. So for punish, so yeah. But I mean, but at the same time, right? If opponents want to be offensive towards her, it's also pretty difficult, right? I guess, because again, she can. I mean, she's not helpless in any situation. I guess, like, right? Like, she's not better offensively than any character, like any even top players, or even top units, or top 1-1 units in the game. But she's also not defenseless against pretty much any units in the game. And I assume, and I don't know what she is in 2v2s, because I haven't seen seen too much of her gameplay. But again, in my time playing against her, I just never really feel like I need to worry about her at all, right? So I mean, but yeah, she's still I would say much above average, if not at least good enough in 1v1s, right? To a point where, hey, if she is the best unit or the hardest unit to deal with in the opponent's team, I will be banning her just because out of all of her other characters against my current team, then she might be the most annoying to deal with. So, yeah, I I'm not sure if this section is fine because or that's good enough, because I want to say, I basically want to just say that she's good for sure, especially if you're a good player, but she's also like, you don't need to be afraid of her most of the time, I guess. So as long as you have a balanced team, I guess. Yeah. Well, now let's go into Deadmaster. Yeah, I think I wasted too much time on her. Oh well. Deadmaster. Now, I don't have that much experience with Deadmaster, but so I wouldn't be. I don't want to talk to, but I think she's definitely above average, mainly because she can against players who, I mean, above average, but not too much above average, I will say. Well, I don't know. Again, I don't know because I don't face her that often in 1v1s to know what she is. But I've seen, but I know some players plays it. I know some even top player plays her in 1v1s. So one thing she can do in 1v1s, I mean, even in 2v2s, assume is to just do this. It's like basically screw with people's cameras, right? Like go on top of them and just use her floatiness and just like screw with the camera and do that, or just do it like slowly or something like that. So it can be pretty difficult to deal with for people who isn't used to people, I guess, abusing cameras in this game. But I mean, if you're against a good player, right? First of all, they probably wouldn't get you in this position, and a good player can probably catch her landing, like even if she is, like even if she's doing a good landing. So in any of her other moves, I I mean, she can use them together to to have a better chance to hit you. But again, against a player with a good enough fundamentals, I don't think she have like fast enough moves that can really I guess catch player that is good enough. I don't think. I mean, she does have this self-protection tool, I guess, that she could use. I think this even have melee block. That's fine, but I think you're kind of cooked already, right? And you only got this one chance. There's no way that the opponents wouldn't know you just throw this out, right? You first of all you need to time it first well, and you need to assume the opponents are not using like a character that has some protections, right? Like either super armor or whatever, right? Time it well. Your opponents also have to be not using characters that can that mid attack that have protections, and even after that, I guess you can do a punish and just run, and that's probably better or something. And then I guess do more of her abuse of cameras or something like that. Which again, even if you do this right, if you miss, you kind of cooked as well. That you do this right, a good player probably know how to get out of it, just fly away or something like that, and then and then punish your landings, because you know what the heck can you do, right? I mean, even if you do this, right? If you're so high to a point where, if you're so high to a point where it is screwing up with camera, which I mean you don't need to be that high, but again, it'd be easy for opponents most of the time. So yeah, I think yeah, I guess it's above average in terms of like medium. Like I don't even know what medium is. Like I guess medium is like, I don't know. Yeah, what would be a medium? Thank you. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe she is the medium. Like she had this one thing that she can do, or she had these few things that she can do in 1v1s. Um, you know, the screen with camera and such. And of course, you know, just catching opponents not knowing about certain things that she has. You can probably do something about her like that, but otherwise, yeah, I don't think she has anything too special. And I think her being floaty is also like can be fairly difficult for, you know, for new player, especially, you know, with her floatiness, right? So yeah. Alright, so I think that should be all limited times ones, right? I'm gonna maybe I'll probably do like a full collab character where I get into Reiki as well, or you know, the Keep the Dead Alive characters. But for now, I think I'll just talk about these time limited characters, like the actual time limited ones. Just want to make sure I didn't leave out any. I don't think I did, so should be fine. Yeah. Um. Yeah, I don't think I missed any, but yeah. Okay, so if I miss, I mean, if I did miss any, just let me know. And of course, you know, in the future, if there's anything changed, or you know, for those who might, you know, other good 1v1 players, if you want to add anything down, you can let me know as well, right? So, in 1v1s, well, unit, I guess you don't need any of these units to do good in 1v1. You can definitely live without them, right? None of these, like even I was even gonna had like if you play well, right? I think he's S tier, but he's not exactly, you know, unbeatable, right? There are other more broken, you know, 1v1 units that is always in the game, right? You can even use a free-to-play team to win if you know, if you're good enough, like right on the unit. It's all about how much you know your unit, how much you know. So I guess you also want to know what, you know, what these lab characters can do. So once you meet them, you know how to deal with them. You know what they have, you know how much uses their broken moves are, and you can, you know, have a higher win chance now that you know about all these units. And also you also know your own units, and you also have good enough fundamentals. You can beat all these units even with a free-to-play team. Again, if you're good enough, like you probably would need at least a bit higher fundamentals than the person using, like, you know, these units, or I guess abusing these characters' strength to the maximum. You probably would need like also as good of, at least as good of a fundamentals as a person, and also knows everything about both your characters and all these characters as well to win. But it's not impossible. It's not impossible. In fact, it's probably very possible. Because again, even a free-to-play team, you know, even a free-to-play team can be pretty deadly. You know, can be pretty, like even this team can be pretty deadly. Now, I probably would take out her, but well, I probably would take out her because yeah, she's fine. It's almost like Dead Master, where yeah, she had this little orbs thing that can potentially catch you off guard, but potentially, and she only got this one thing, and if you miss, you're screwed. And she also don't have like a good self defense tool like Dead Master has. So I think she's like lower, like definitely less than the master overall. But you can find other free to play units, right? Okay, here you go. Orchid. You use Orchid. There you go, and that's a good 1-1 team right here. Even if you're under a cost, right? Even if you're using Orchid, Scorpion, Beta, or Orchid, Ada, and yeah, Orchid, Beta, and Ada, and they ban Scorpion. Even with one less cost, like one half less cost, you can be like a stylet, you know, you can be a stylet, like a double Galahad or whatever, you know, top tier team. You can do that. You definitely can, as long as you know all of their characters as well, and your characters as well, so you can, you know, truly exploit their vulnerabilities during the match. So yeah, alright, so I think that should be everything. I don't want to talk about this video, of course. Probably will make an updated one in the future. We'll see what happens. And yeah, let's go. See you all next time. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Some people on today. Hopefully the video is good. And sorry if I stutter a lot, because I'm pretty sure you guys can tell I'm not like nervous while I'm doing this. I just don't know why I keep on stuttering. And it's not something I can change. I don't know why. But I hope you guys can at least understand what I've been talking about. So yeah. Alright, see you all next time. I'll probably timestamp these videos as well. So